Have you ever ignored a stranger's cry for help? What if that decision came back to haunt you? Literally. Tonight, I'm sharing a story that will make you think twice before scrolling past someone in need. You might want to turn on your lights for this one. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and drop a like. Trust me, you'll want to stay for what's coming. This is the Unsent Message, a digital ghost story. Meet Daniel Chen, a 32-year-old software engineer living in Seattle. For 3 years, Daniel had avoided driving on Highway 89, the remote stretch of road connecting the city to his hometown of Millbrook. His colleagues noticed he always flew when visiting family, even though it was just a 2-hour drive. When they asked why, Daniel would change the subject, his hands trembling slightly as he gripped his coffee cup a little tighter. But avoidance can only last so long. One Friday evening, Daniel's phone rang. His mother's voice cracked through the speaker. His father had suffered a heart attack and was in critical condition. The hospital was in Millbrook. There were no flights until morning. Daniel stared at his car keys on the kitchen counter, feeling the weight of 3 years of guilt pressing down on his chest. He had no choice. He grabbed the keys and headed for Highway 89. The fog rolled in thick as Daniel merged onto the highway at 11 p.m. The road was desolate, illuminated only by his headlights cutting through the mist. The temperature inside the car dropped, despite the heater running full blast. His breath came out in visible puffs. The radio crackled with static, unable to find a clear signal. Mile marker 47 approached, the place he'd been dreading. His knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. That's when he saw her. A young woman stood on the shoulder, her thumb extended in the universal gesture for a ride. She wore a thin dress, completely inappropriate for the cold November night. Her dark hair hung wet against her pale skin. Daniel's foot hovered over the brake. Something felt wrong. There were no other cars, no broken-down vehicle, no logical reason for her to be here in the middle of nowhere in freezing fog, but she looked desperate. Her eyes met his through the windshield, pleading, afraid. Daniel pulled over, his mind screaming at him even as he unlocked the passenger door. She slid in without a word, bringing with her the smell of damp earth and something else. Something like decay. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I've been waiting so long for someone to stop." "Where are you headed?" Daniel asked, merging back onto the highway. His voice sounded strange in his own ears. "Just up the road," she replied. "Mile marker 52. Daniel's blood ran cold. That was only 5 miles ahead. "What were you doing out here alone?" he pressed. She turned to look at him, and in the dim dashboard light, her eyes seemed to reflect something that wasn't there. "My car broke down," she said. "I called for help, but no one came. No one ever stops anymore." As they drove, she told him her name was Sarah. She was a nursing student heading home from a late shift. Her phone had died. It had been so cold. In the rearview mirror, Daniel caught glimpses of something that made his heart race. Her reflection seemed to flicker, sometimes showing her as she appeared now, sometimes showing something else. Something broken. "Are you all right?" Sarah asked, noticing his distraction. "You seem nervous." "I'm fine," Daniel lied, but he wasn't fine. The voices were starting again, the same voices that had haunted him for 3 years. "Help me, please. Don't leave me here." And suddenly he was back there, 3 years ago. Same highway, same fog, a different stranger on the roadside. Daniel had been tired that night, anxious to get home. The man had looked disheveled, possibly drunk. Daniel had accelerated past him, convincing himself someone else would stop. Someone else would help. The next morning, the news reported a body found at mile marker 47. The man had been injured in a hit and run. He'd survived the impact but died from exposure, waiting hours for help that never came. The article included his phone. He tried to text his daughter. "Hurt. Highway 89, need help." The message had never sent. No signal. And every night since, Daniel heard his voice in his dreams. "Help me, please." "We're here," Sarah said softly, mile marker 52. Daniel pulled over, but as he turned to let her out, the car filled with figures. Translucent, flickering forms pressed against the windows. Men, women, teenagers, all with the same desperate eyes. All asking the same question, "Why didn't you stop?" Sarah's form began to shimmer. "Some of us were real, Daniel," she said. "And some of us are the guilt you carry. Can you tell the difference?" Daniel screamed, slamming his foot on the accelerator. The car lurched forward, and when he looked again, Sarah was gone. The other figures evaporated like smoke. His phone buzzed a message from the hospital. His father was stable. But as Daniel's breathing slowed, he glanced in the rearview mirror one last time. Sarah stood at mile marker 52, her arm extended, still waiting, still asking for help. And Daniel realized with horror that he still didn't know if she'd been real. Here's what this story teaches us. In our rush, in our fear, in our convenient excuses, we pass by people who might desperately need our help. That stranger on the side of the road, that person asking for assistance online, that cry for help you scroll past. They're someone's daughter, someone's father, someone's entire world. Don't let guilt be your only passenger. Stop, help. Be the person someone is praying will show up. This is your reminder that the scariest stories are often rooted in our own choices. I'm your guide through the darkest corners of the internet, and I'll be back next week with another mystery that'll make you question what's real. Until then, keep your lights on and your heart open. And remember, sometimes the ghosts that haunt us are the ones we create ourselves. Stay safe out there.